You're ready. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I will call to order the special board meeting of West Basin Municipal Water District. It is now 1:06. I'm calling this meeting to order. Item 2 is determination of quorum. Mr. General Manager, please call the roll.
Yes, Madam President. Director Tommy Favai. Here. Director Desi Alvarez.
Here.
Director Scott Houston.
Here.
Director Don Deere. Here. President Gloria Gray. We have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Item 3, Pledge of Allegiance. Could I call on Wendy, for the Pledge of Allegiance? Thank you. Please stand.
Please repeat after me. Pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Thank you, everyone. Item 4, public comment. Mr. General Manager, please. Anyone wishes to speak from the public?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President. Staff has not received any requests for public comment, though this meeting is being held both in person and virtually. If there's any member of the public that would like to speak under public comment, please indicate so now by raising your virtual hand. Madam President, I do not see any request for public comment.
Thank you very much. Item 5, presentation. Would you please introduce the presentation, Mr. General Manager?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President, members of the Board of Directors. Today, we are very lucky to have a representative of the South Bay Cities Council of Governments. You'll recall that item 8C is related to an agreement between West Basin Municipal Water District and the South Bay Cities Council of Governments. And for today's presentation, we do have City of Gardena Council member and South Bay Cities Council of Governments Chair, Mr. Rodney Tanaka.
Welcome.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, board members. Thank you for all the members here today. My name is Rodney Tanaka. I am the chair of the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, and I'm also the mayor pro tem at the city of Gardena. So on behalf of the South Bay Cities Council of Governments, I want to extend our deepest appreciation to Chair Gray and the entire board of directors and the dedicated West Basin staff for the ongoing partnership and support. This year marks our 18th anniversary together of our incredibly successful collaboration and nearly 2 decades of working together to bring impactful water conservation programs to the South Bay communities. This partnership has enabled us to deliver consistent and effective outreach across the region. By working hand in hand, we have helped residents and businesses reduce water use, lower costs, and minimize their environmental footprint. The COG continues to actively promote West Basin's programs by engaging with communities through over 100 in-person and virtual events every year. Whether it's city fairs, workshops, sustainability festival, your programs are always front and center. In addition, we distribute West Basin's materials to our city halls, libraries, chambers of commerce, and community centers monthly, ensuring your message reaches every corner of our region. We're proud to assist in promoting and implementing your cornerstone conservation programs, including rain barrel giveaways, turf replacement, and water bottle filling stations. Programs that continue to make a tangible difference. So I want to take a moment and thank all the volunteers that come out and make all this possible, because their commitment to water stewardship is inspiring, and they are the key to spreading conservation message with our own local neighborhood. Our partnership is a win-win. furthering South Bay Cog's sustainability mission while amplifying West Basin's visibility and impact in the communities we serve. Please consider this as an open invitation to join us at any of our upcoming events, at any of our meetings. Your insight is always welcome, and we value your collaboration in identifying new ways to deepen our work together. Together, we built something exceptional. And as we move into our 18th year partnership, we are excited about the opportunities ahead and are confident in the continued success we will achieve side by side. With your support, as I saw today, thank you for your continued support for us. And we will always, always promote West Basin. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tanaka.
Sure.
We do appreciate the partnership with South Bay Cog. Please give Jackie our regards. And since I've been on the board, I think we've had the partnership. I've always seen it as a benefit to both organizations. So thank you very much. Looking forward to it. Hello, young lady next. Any other comments? If not, we'll move on.
I'd love to
Scott,
say,
Director Houston.
no, I just want to say thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Tanaka, for being here, but also for truly echoing what President Gray said. Hard to believe it's been 18 years. That's pretty darn amazing. But the COG really is like an extension of West Basin, and it's a strong partnership. We so value what you all do on our behalf. The great thing is, we know it here. Some others may not know it, but with the service area where the overlay is, it's great because when our staff can't be at things, the COG people can. So when there's a lot of events happening all at once, like Earth Day and whatnot, it's great because you all have presence in the cities and communities. You also have those great volunteers, and some of them have been around a long time with us. Some of them are really, superstars like Karen, who really advocate for West Basin. So, and last but not least, I always personally love the General Assembly. I've been going to the General Assembly since way back when I was just a commissioner in El Segundo, a long time ago. But that's extremely valuable and the work the COG does. So again, just want to say thank you, and please, send Jack our regards. We're really, really happy to continue this partnership.
Thank you.
Thank you again. With that, we will go to the next presentation, which please introduce the next one.
Yes, Madam President, this next item, 5B, is we're welcoming our guests, both Monica Davis and Barbara Boland from the El Segundo Butterfly Conservancy. They've been working with our local cities and our other stakeholders to help restore the habitat for the blue butterfly. Today, they are here to present on all the great work that they've done so far. It's important to note that West Basin has partnered with Barbara and her team on multiple occasions, including providing them with free gardening gloves and exploring the possibility of applying for grass placement rebates for different areas within El Segundo. And so with that, I'll hand it over to you.
Welcome, ladies.
Thank you for having us. My name is Monica Davis. This is Barbara Boland, and together we founded the El Segundo Blue Butterfly Conservancy.
You can go to the next slide because Monica's here today. We didn't know if she'd be able to make it, so.
Okay, so prior to the 1960s, there were 3,000 acres of sand dunes between El Segundo and the whole Beach Cities area. The butterflies lived there, and there was a native plant called the sea cliff buckwheat or Erigonium parfoli that grew there. Prior to the 1960s, there were up to 750,000 El Segundo blue butterflies. And as urbanization grew into the beach cities, they were identified through Fish and Wildlife Service as being its own separate species. And they were I believe they were the first insect ever on the endangered species list in 1976. And they were found to be 500 of them left from 750,000. Next slide. Okay. So these are the two butterflies. The outside wings have those black spots and an orange stripe. As you can see, this one on the right has the blue on the inside of the wings. The males are always colorful to attract the females. The female, the inside of the wings are brown because they need to hide to protect their next brood. Next slide, please. So they emerge in the summer, usually right around 4th of July. They're the male and females, you can see them mating. Again, the males have the blue on them. They mate, they lay their eggs. They lay the eggs in the flower of the plant, the ergola and propolis, which you can see there in that picture. Then they crawl down the stalk of the plant. They molt 5 times. Then they create their pupa or chrysalis in the soil at the base of the plant. And then they hibernate, for lack of a better word, in that chrysalis for 11.5 months. And then they come out, they mate, they do their thing, and the cycle starts over again. So you can only see them for a short window of time, right around 4th of July, for about a month, 6 weeks, something like that. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so this is 1932, an interesting view. This is El Segundo down here, the airport somewhere over here, and that's all the way, I think, up into Marina del Rey and beyond. And you can see how far the sand dunes were back from the coastal area. And I actually just read something about how sand dunes are formed. It's from the wind spitting the sand up onto the coastline. So look at the next slide, please. This is 1960s. So 30 years, you can see the urbanization starting in the 1960s and how little soil sand dunes are left for the blue butterflies. Next, please. This was an article that was put in the El Segundo Herald many years ago about what happened with LAX. There's where the airplanes land and where we all know, just beyond it, there's an area where the homes have been removed. So 700, 800 homes were removed from that area under the flight path of between the airport and the coast itself. Actually, 70% of the dunes was destroyed just to build Pershing, which is a street that runs right along there. Then LAX planted the wrong coastal buckwheat, not Seacliff buckwheat. And then in 82, they planted the correct buckwheat underneath the airport in their fenced-in area. But because they didn't maintain it by weeding out the non-natives, the native plants are being bullied out of their space. So the numbers, actually, according to U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service review report that I read, they've been reducing in number at the airport. But they are currently working on it. So next slide, please. There we go. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm going to go back for a second. This LAX was trying to develop towards the bottom there a 27-hole golf course on that site, but that was not, the permit was not approved in 1985 by the Coastal Commission. So that's why that golf course did not happen in that area. Space is still open for planting. Then next slide, please. The city of LA established this area as restoration area, but very little work was done ahead of time. No surveys, no plant upkeep for the last 20 years. Last 20 years, so this area has been losing butterflies. And I think this is where Barbara's going to start.
Oh, okay. So thank you. My background, Monica didn't mention how we met. We both come from completely different not completely different, but educational backgrounds. Monica is more of an intellectual, went to find out why when she was in El Segundo, where is the blue butterfly? There, it's all over the place, signage, but the butterfly, no, everyone thought it was extinct. So she actually found the mayor, took Mayor Boyles out and showed him, found out, made a connection with our mentor, whose name is Ann Dalkey, who's done so much research and written a book about the blue butterfly. And she brought the mayor, and sure enough, to show him, and it does exist. So my background is come from an art background, photography, art, and I'm also a certified master gardener. So together we kind of combined, and when I moved to El Segundo in 2018, I'm wondering the same thing. So through our environmental committee member, Tracy Miller-Zarnicki, we she brought us both together. So we began to form the Conservancy. It's just in El Segundo. We're not involved in these other places, but they are part of a whole coalition that runs from Bayona Creek all the way down to Palos Verdes. And just along the coast, you won't find the butterfly past Pacific Coast Highway. So it's just along the coast because this one plant, this is the host plant, the Eriogonum parvifolium. It's the only one that the butterfly needs to lay its eggs on, and that's the only one that the little caterpillars need. So anyway, the solution. So next slide. Solution. We have Chevron who stepped in at the time in the 70s when they did find the butterfly. We can go to the next slide. The solution actually is to rebuild habitat gardens for the butterfly. So Chevron stepped in there. There's a hillside that actually anyone can see from in El Segundo. It's filled with the native seacliff buckwheat. And a native plant is any plant that's been here before, what? Urbanization, yes. So it's filled, and they still say it's the only one, but now we have the coalition. So there are several sites along the coast that are, there's kind of an old sign, but you can go there and see the butterflies. They've been very helpful with our little group. We're the El Segundo Blue Butterfly Conservancy. We're now not for profit as of December this year. So we're looking forward to extend out and work. So that's, I guess we can go to the next one. Oh, by the way, the Chevron, that spot was built. One of the reasons they bought that spot was for great to help bring the butterfly back, but they could not fit another tank on this particular piece of land because it was at an angle. And I think the acreage was just a little bit too small. It would have been too small for them to put another tank there. So what we're doing now, we've planted. So we worked with the El Segundo Department of Park and Rec, and they helped us find a piece of land. And it's all along, it's not Imperial Highway, which is the 105, but the opposite side of it, which is West Imperial Avenue, a strip all along which we've started to plant. And we've planted since beginning last December. We planted 1/3 of an acre in this strip along the sand dunes. And this is our little sign. And you could go to the next slide. We really are very involved with our volunteers. We work with high school volunteers. We work with our community people. West Basin, next slide, keep going. West Basin donated gloves, which we love. Everyone loves wearing West Basin gloves. That's our school superintendent with his daughter, some high school volunteers. We just keep washing them. They're really good gloves. And let's see. So basically, we reached out to the schools. We had 5 high school interns who donated over 200 hours collectively to us this year, and we really just look forward to keep it going. So one thing we'll be asking and working with West Basin, hopefully, is want to move west another 2,000 square feet, I think it is, working hopefully turf removal. We're going to work with you to get a whole nother section done. And we'll see if we have the butterflies that will come this year. So if anyone's interested, Monica and I give tours at Dockweiler where the butterflies, you can see them in July when they're out. We left a little sheet of paper if anyone's interested in seeing them. And also we have information on planting, the plants they need, the life cycle. And we just really want to thank you for this opportunity. And thank you so much for helping us out. And Scott's been a great supporter in El Segundo, and Gus has come over a few times. So thank you so much, everybody. Really
Do you
appreciate
have
it.
any questions?
I don't think we have any question. We probably have comments. I know Director Hughes probably has a comment. Why? Well, first, ladies, thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you for sharing with us the interesting and very important work that you do relative to saving endangered butterflies, and specifically, what are the ones, the blue butterfly, right? El Segundo blue butterfly. We understand how important it is for environment, so thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank
Any comments, Director Houston or anyone else?
I'll be very brief, but I have to say, these two ladies are amazing. They've done a lot of work. It's like they were small but mighty as they continued pushing and pushing and pushing. And as was mentioned, they reached out to our local elected officials. They reached out to school district, school board people. They reached out to me, of course, as the board member at West Basin. And anything we could all do to support their efforts, we have. So even providing just gloves, which make a big difference, and they've been reusing them, and that's wonderful. And yes, they've been in touch with Gus because we want to see every which way we can take out more grass in our communities, but also replace it with native plants. So I just want to say thank you and we commend you, and I'm glad to hear you got the 501c3 now in place, which that works on so many levels for you to bring in some resources and get other partners to help you out. And I learn more as I'm listening because it's unfortunate that the blue butterfly was almost gone, almost extinct, is basically the namesake of our town. So anyway, I really, really appreciate what you all do, and thank you. And we're here to support you.
Thank you,
I don't know
everyone.
what kind of powers that West Basin has, but with our new 501(c), we would love any kind of financial support because every penny that we get goes directly to plants, and it's a completely voluntary, there's no salary positions or anything else organization to plant our natives. So thank you.
Thank you, lady.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President. The next item 5C is recognition of Asian, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander heritage.
Thank you very much. I have the honor of making a presentation the board does to the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, recognition of this particular month. And is there anyone here that will receive it?
We could offer it to our very own director, Tommy Villan.
We have a director here, so let me read it, because I think it's important for us to hear this. West Basin Municipal Water District proclamation recognizing the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month, May 2025. Whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month was officially memorialized in 1992 after Congress passed legislation designating its annual observance to the month of May. And whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month commemorates the arrival of the first Japanese immigrants to the United States on May 7, 1943, as well as the completion of the first transcontinental railroad on May 10, 1869, made possible by significant contributions from Chinese immigrants. And whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, excuse me, Pacific Islander Heritage Month acknowledges the 24.7 million Asians and 1.7 million Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders living in the United States, celebrating the diverse array of cultures that trace their origins to over 30 countries across East Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, and the Pacific Island of Melanesia, Micronesia, and Polynesia. And whereas Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month recognizes this year's theme of a legacy of, let me repeat that, a legacy of leadership and resilience, honoring the hard work of all the leaders who establish a foundation for future generations to thrive and adapt to change and adversity. And whereas this year's theme for Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month features the bamboo as a symbol of strength, endurance, and resilience, representing the unwavering spirit of the AANHPI throughout history, who faced their struggles with dignity and strength, transforming adversity into opportunity for public service, efficiency, and innovations, resulting in lasting change that resonates beyond the community and positively impacts the world. Now therefore be it proclaimed for the month of May 2025 that we, the directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, hereby recognize Asian American, Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islander Heritage Month as an annual celebration of Asian and Pacific Islander Americans and their significant contributions to American culture and society. It's signed by all 5 board members. So Director Pavay, would you like to say anything or receive this on behalf of this particular acknowledgement?
Yeah, I'd just like to make a couple comments that, remembering and embracing our culture, it goes a long way. And building the good relationships with other ethnicities and diversities in our communities is always key too. So I just want to acknowledge that, when it comes to Asian American Pacific Islander ones.
Thank you very much. I know this board has discussed diversity, and it's really important to what we do here in our policies and our actions, and certainly recognizing different cultures and groups is very important. And so I'm very honored to have read this particular acknowledgement today. So on behalf of the board, congratulations for all the contributions that this particular group has made to America. LA, Los Angeles is part of that, so thank you.
Madam President, if I could recommend that we get together for a photo.
Oh, look at that, you guys.
This group never defined.
This goes in our display right outside, right? So Tommy, now you know where it goes. Okay, item 6. Items too late to be agendized. Any items, General Manager?
We have no items that are too late to be agendized today.
Item 7, public hearing. Want to introduce that item, please?
To do so, Madam President. Let me first begin. Item 7A is an update on vacancies in compliance with Assembly Bill 2561, local public employees vacant positions. Let me begin by saying that this was new legislation, and it's my understanding, and speaking with several general managers, that this is a new process for all special districts to go through. And therefore, my understanding is that all special districts have handled this a little bit differently. I know that our Met directors have experienced this process at Metropolitan Water District. I will go ahead and read through a public hearing opening statement. And then the President can entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
You can read it. I was gonna get some in my throat. So go ahead and can you read it? Please, just step away.
This is a public hearing to discuss and receive comments on the status of vacancies, as well as the agency's recruitment retention effort as required by Assembly Bill 2561. The notice of this hearing was published in a daily newspaper of general circulation and posted onto the district's website. The order of presentation of testimony at this hearing will be district staff, bargaining units, public agencies, other agencies and groups, and individuals. Anyone so desiring will be heard. To facilitate public participation during the meeting, you may email your name to the board secretary at West Basin Board Secretary at westbasin.org, or you can add your name to the comment section or the chat section of this meeting and may speak after your name is announced. If you wish to make a comment and do not wish to speak, email your name and comments to the board secretary prior to the close of the public comment portion of the hearing, and all comments received will be read. This board will consider all testimony. However, in the interest of time, it is requested that you please limit your comments to 3 minutes. So at this point, the Madam President may entertain a motion to open the hearing.
Yes, we have a motion to open the public hearing, please.
Second.
That first, second. Please vote. Please call the roll.
Director Tommy Fabai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
and President Gloria Gray.
Yes.
So with that, Madam President, I'm going to hand it off to Elisa Mecenas Fidelio, our Manager of Human Resources, for a presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, President Gray and board members. I'm here to present the remaining aspect of the retention and the recruitment of West Basin. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and give you an overview on the vacancies for fiscal year 24-25. We did have 6 approved positions, 52 full-time, 8 part-time. 4 full-time positions remained vacant as of the end of 2024, which were the manager of engineering, engineering supervisor, contract administrator 2, and the chief financial officer. All active recruitment efforts have been conducted for each vacancy. With that said, the recruitment and retention strategies of West Basin, we tend to broaden our job postings to additional professional associations, increased our outreach to schools and colleges through career fairs, updated the administrative code in relations to HR policies, and we also launched a classification and compensation study to maintain market competitiveness. To assess our internal policies, at this point, we see no policies or procedures that need to be identified as barriers to our hiring. Staff remains committed to continually improve our recruitment and retention process. And with that said, the benefits of AB 2561 promotes greater transparency and accountability in staffing, supports strategic improvements in recruitment and retention, and helps ensure consistency with staffing levels for effective delivery of the public service. With that said, that concludes my presentation regarding staffing and the retention and recruitment for West Basin.
Lisa, if you could just touch on the status of those 4 that are vacant during the.
So in regards to the manager of engineering, we did do an internal recruitment for that position, and we were able to internally promote Susanna Lee Bly from our operations department to the manager of engineering. The engineering supervisor position, we also internally recruited, and we promoted Orlando Rodriguez in February of 2025. The contracts administrator 2 position, as we saw the department needing a higher position, we went out for an outside public recruitment and brought in a contract supervisor. And in regards to our chief financial officer, we did go do a public recruitment using a third-party consulting firm, and we were hired the new CFO as of February 2025 as well.
Question, who was the third party recruitment firm?
Wendy Brown, consulting firm.
We've used that firm before. I think so.
Yeah.
This was the first time we've used
I
it.
know her name is familiar.
It's a fully woman-run
Yeah.
consulting
Yeah,
firm.
it's been around for a long time. Thank you. Okay, any question? Board? I don't think so. Thank you, at least. Thank you.
So with that, I believe, Madam President, you may entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Great question. Did we have any input from the bargaining units and public agencies and so forth?
I do not see any requests, again, though this meeting is being held both in person and virtually. If there is any member of the public or stakeholder that would like to speak on this item during the public hearing, please indicate so by raising your virtual hand.
This public hearing has been noticed in newspapers and general circulation, so transparency is there. All right, then I entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Any discussion? Hearing none, can you please call the roll?
Director Tommy Favai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Donald Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
Yes. Thank you. Motion passed. The public hearing is now closed. Thank you very much. We'll go to item 8, consent calendar. Are there any items that need to be pulled from the consent calendar by anyone on the board? Hearing none, may I entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
I've heard a motion and second. Any discussion? No discussion, please call the roll.
Director Tommy Favai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez, Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
Yes, thank you. Motion passed. Item 9, action calendar. Can you please introduce 9A, Mr. General Manager?
Yes, thank you very much, Madam President. Item 9A begins on page 143. This item was recently heard, or actually, I apologize, it was not recently heard. It was brought to the Board of Directors as we would with any ratification for work. And so for this presentation, we do have Frank, our operations.
Thank you, EJ. Good afternoon, directors. Again, as EJ mentioned, the purpose of this board memo is to request ratification of the expenditures for the repair of the high pressure boiler feed recycled water pipeline in El Segundo. It's located on El Segundo Boulevard near Eucalyptus Drive. This pipeline supplies high pressure boiler feed recycled water to the Chevron refinery. The repairs include both the pipeline repair as well as the street repair. And I wanted to highlight that the work was implemented by Infomart, West Basin Distribution System Contract Operator. The work was implemented per the West Basin Administrative Code for procurement of critical goods and services. And the code indicates that best efforts will be used to conform to the informal solicitation procedures. And it also sets a limit of $250,000 for each critical repair. And as EJ indicated, these repairs, the cost would be brought to the board for ratification. So some background regards to the leak. It was originally in September of last year, and Infomart responded and hired a contractor to implement the repair the same day. The same day it was reported, and the leak repair was finalized into the following morning. Once the pipe repair was completed, temporary paving was installed until the permanent paving could be implemented on the section of the street. And this is basically along the location of the trench, which was approximately 5 feet wide, 3 feet long. However, the city has a moratorium on that street since the street had been paved over a year earlier, back in 2023. Therefore, the city required that the district pave one lane of traffic, which was about 17 feet wide and 33 feet long. So it was approximately 5 times more the area of the regional trench. And since this is a larger paving project than we would normally implement, our staff directed Infomart to obtain quotes for the paving portion of this work. This did contribute to a delay in the final paving being implemented. Well, there were some delays due to permitting. And then also when the contractor started work, we did have an issue where they identified that the asphalt paving thickness was actually thicker moving towards the center of the street. The city required that the asphalt be 1 inch thicker than what was existing. So this resulted in additional costs for the paving that was originally estimated. This included an additional day of work and cost for additional asphalt and equipment costs as well. And these costs are identified in the board memo. Overall, the paving was completed in March of this year, and the total cost for the pipeline repair and the paving was $78,608.38. With that, I'll read the recommendation that the board ratify the expenditures for the critical repair and street restoration for the 16-inch high pressure boiler feed recycling water pipeline across Secunda Boulevard and Eucalyptus Street in the amount of $78,608.38. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is there a motion?
I'll move it.
Second.
Discussion? Any discussion? No discussion, so we'll call for the vote. Thank you, Frank, for the presentation. Can you call the roll?
Director Tommy Flavai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Scott Houston, Director Don Deere,
Yes,
President Gloria Gray.
Yes. The motion carried.
Madam President,
Yes.
on the same issue, just to get back to the first question of staff, it sounds like the city of El Segundo, is that the city involved in this? Kind of caught us unawares with these additional expenses. I hope that's not the trend over there.
No, it was basically because they had recently paved the street, and so they put a moratorium preventing any planned projects to excavate. They want to basically conserve their newly paved road. And so as a result of us having to implement this critical repair, they required a little bit wider, basically one lane of paving instead of a smaller, but it was just basically because of the moratorium that they had placed on that newly paved road.
This isn't going to be a regular occurrence, and it's just kind of,
Right.
I see. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. Thank you, Frank, for response. Go on to 9B. Please introduce that one.
Yes, thank you very much. This item 9B is to award for bulk chemical storage condition assessment. Does begin on packet page 146. This item was prepared and delivered to the Engineering Operations Committee just last week on May 22nd. At that time, the committee had questions related to the specific cost. This item and the recommendation was provided to the committee with the best value in mind. And the recommendation was to authorize the general manager to enter into an agreement with MKN and Associates Incorporated to perform the bulk chemical storage condition assessments for Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility Phase 1 and the Torrance Recycle Water Facility tanks in the amount of $220,869 plus a 10% contingency of $22,086.90 for a total not to exceed $242,955.90. We do have staff, Camille Castillo, here to present this item, if of course the committee or board has any questions.
A question. These items were presented in committee,
Correct.
but they were not sent through with book,
They were moved to the board without a recommendation.
right? So presentation has been made.
In committee, correct.
Right, so the presentation here should be just key points.
We can provide a quick overview,
Yeah.
and I think Camille and I had a conversation, I think it was last week, to talk a little bit about focusing in on why the difference between the two. There is an 11,000 difference, I believe, and why the committee or the review panel unanimously agreed with the recommendation.
Right, and I think moving forward with any of the items, since they were not moved forward with the recommendation, maybe we can focus on those points that were brought out that maybe there was some concern.
Happy to do that.
Okay, all right, thank you. Want to go on with, what would you like to do with this item?
Why don't we have Camille just touch on the item and then, of course, answer any questions.
Good afternoon, members of the board. Yes, so as directed, I'm here just to highlight the difference between the different proposals that we saw, and there were two, one from MKN and Associates and one from Corpro. So a best value valuation was looked at, and that is a more holistic view of the proposals and not just the cost. So the consultant's fee, experience, personnel qualifications, and proposed technical approach methodology was considered when we looked at them. And so a breakdown is included on page 164 of the board packet, where you'll see how it was evaluated. Essentially, MK and Associates presented a clear methodology of the way that they were going to approach the tank inspections. And they also provided a layout for how they would implement their projects. One of the proposal requirements was to include the project schedule, and Corpro did not include that information as requested. MK and Associates also scored higher in the respondent qualifications and experience and personnel qualification categories. That's because MKN demonstrated their technical experience and expertise with their abilities to prepare a condition assessment report. They included an expert chemical storage tank inspector on their team, and they referenced to 3 past projects that were from 3 different public agencies where they performed very similar work to the project that we have. And additionally, the breadth of references that MKN provided was greater. Even though Corpro provided positive references, it should be noted that the references were all for the same agency. So based on that evaluation, MKN ranked higher than Corpro. And something else to point out is additional points were given to MKN because their company and their sub are small business enterprises. So the district has a small business and local enterprise category where they can get a maximum of 7 points. So in this case, MKM obtained 3 points. Their sub, who is also a small business, had 1 more point, so for a total of 4 points. And Corpro is not a smaller local business, so they did not receive any of those points. And so based on the evaluation, we provided.
Okay. Any questions, or can I have a motion regarding a recommendation?
So moved.
Second on it.
I'll
Someone-
second.
Question.
I have a comment. When this was discussed, that, both of these firms basically are qualified in the presentation that was discussed. Corpro has a history of providing these kinds of services. MKM is going to be using a subcontractor to actually do the work. And just in reviewing it, I'm not convinced that it's worth the additional expense to go with MKN. I think Corpro is able to do the work, and for the difference in price, I think that they would be the better qualified firm. So that is the comments that I had made and why this did not come out of the committee with a consensus recommendation.
So your recommendation is different from the staff recommendations that were.
Yeah, so I will not be supporting the staff recommendation.
All right,
That's
any
good.
other comments? Yes,
Just
Director.
A question, so only 2 firms even bid on this project. Is there a reason why?
We went out for, on OpenGov for open solicitation. So we had a pre-bid meeting. There was 2 firms that attended. We did our best to outreach to other agencies as well that could perform the work, but those were just the 2 that ended up bidding.
And the other thing is, you said that the ones that are not being recommended, they didn't include some information in their proposal, even though they were supposed to.
And that's why this one was chosen that you're recommending.
One of the reasons.
No, that's crap.
Yes, one of the reasons why that was considered as part of our evaluation criteria.
And your point is, again,
My point is that Corpro is qualified, very qualified to do this work. It's a less expensive firm. I'm not quite sure what was left out, but in other cases, it probably would be viewed as a minor bit irregularity and would be waived. In this case, being held up as a reason for, which is an item that was left out. Therefore, it wasn't waived, and it's been held against them. I just don't see the benefit of going with MKM, and it is inspection services with chemical tanks. Limited number of firms that really do that. And Corpro is one that's highly qualified to do those services and doesn't want.
and you said that was one of the things, the issue is not just one issue, correct? Right, okay. All right, any other comments? Want to call the roll, please?
You, I didn't hear a second. I just want- Okay,
Was there a second?
Yes, second from
Director
Director
Houston.
Houston.
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes.
Director Provide, and then Director Houston.
Director Houston.
Director Tommy Favai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez, Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
We will go to the next, the motion carried. 9C, right? We're on 9C.
Yes.
Can you please introduce that one? And just highlight whatever the differences were.
Yes, Madam President. Item C is an extension of on-call engineering and construction management services. This item, as mentioned, was delivered on May 22nd at the Engineering Operations Committee. This item includes two primary actions, though three total. The first is West Basin Municipal Water District utilizes a maximum value of each on-call contract that we have. That is $150,000. That is at the direction of the board of directors. Though it's not part of our admin code, we just always in these recent years have been holding ourselves to that. The recommendation is to set a maximum value of each on-call engineering and construction management task order to $350,000. And then the next two items are for a 1-year extension of our current on-call construction management firms, as well as our on-call engineering services firms. At committee, there was a couple of different issues. One, the committee thought that the $350,000 request was too high. My understanding in a latter conversation with the chairman was stated that $250,000 would suffice in that area. The second was a direction by the chairman or request that we go out to bid and solicit new bids for on-call services. We have had these firms on contract for now 3 years. And so the idea was to extend for another 1-year period in order for us to continue the outreach efforts that we've had, trying to build a relationship with small, medium, and large firms to solicit and ensure that we're getting more bids when we ultimately do go out to bid. And so I think, I don't want to put words in the chairman's mouth, but I think that characterized the issue was, one, whether to just go out to bid now rather than extend for a 1-year period. And then two, the issue of the total or the maximum value of each agreement or each task order being $250,000 or the requested $350,000.
Okay, the 9C has 3 parts to it, so let's address the first one, the 350 in terms of the maximum, right? So let's have a motion on that one. Can we do it that way, Joe?
I think.
Can we first get a motion and second, then we can discuss?
Well-
Just the first one.
I would,
You can comment after we have a motion to discuss it.
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
move that we set a maximum value of $250,000.
350?
Second motion.
Okay, first, we need to have a motion on the recommendation from the staff. Is that correct, Joe? First, we
We
consider
can break
that,
it up if we like, sure.
and then we can do a substitute motion, right? But let's discuss what staff has recommended, C1. So do we have a motion to this, on this, that part?
Well, I think at this point, he made a motion, right? Didn't he make a motion?
Joe said we could discuss.
I thought that,
He jumped the gun and he,
Yeah,
Put
but
on.
we don't have to do that, Don. We can just do it this way. And we can discuss it. If we don't agree on this, then we go to the counter motion, right? Is that
Madam
correct? You
President,
tell me what's the protocol.
well, I think we can do it however we like, and if we
We
want
do
to,
it either way.
if we want to break it up, I understood Director Alvarez's motion to be related to the
The
A.
first one.
So if we're starting with A, and I don't know whether Director Geary, you heard that he had said $250,000 instead of
Right.
350, which the staff recommendation was 350, but maybe we ought to start fresh on A, and we can,
We agreed we would break it up.
you mean one, C1? I'm sorry, one, yes.
So listen, we agreed we would break it up. C1 is what we're looking at.
And that's your.
Director Alvarez made a motion before we considered the 3-1, what staff recommend. was to do 250. So can we do that, or do we have to go to the original staff motion first?
There's no motion on the table. So the first motion made would be
Okay.
Director Alvarez's motion.
So if we get a second on it, then we have to discuss that first, right? Okay, so repeat your motion.
The motion is to, set the maximum value for on-call engineering and construction management tasks, $250,000.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Director Dier.
No, I misunderstood. That's just 350.
No, I said.
He said 250. Is there a second on that motion?
That was my mistake.
Okay, no second on the motion, so now we go back to the original staff recommendation, which is 3. Sorry,
So, Madam President, can I just speak for a second?
Yes.
All right. Sometimes it was good to have a discussion before a motion is made because during the course of the discussion on an item, different viewpoints can be expressed and that may change the perception of the staff recommendation and how the item is viewed in its totality. In this case, I think that splitting the item up is going to be making it more awkward to address the overall intent of the item, both in the authorization of the maximum amount that's going to be allowed and the purpose of retaining on-call consultants. So I would request that the president allow us to just discuss the item first, and then we can either go with the recommendation made by staff and or have a different recommendation that's approved.
Joe, can you discuss an item before it's introduced and a motion is made on it?
Yeah,
Can we have
I mean,
a full discussion on it.
Right, we tend to typically follow Robert's rules loosely.
What's the
meaning-
rules of order?
Well, typically you make a motion first, but we have historically provided for some discussion and some flexibility and discretion of the chair and the board.
No, I want to follow the rule of, I just want to ask, what's the follow? Because you make a motion on the item, you didn't get a first and second, then you discuss it. So are you saying we can go out of turn and just discuss the item and then go with a motion? I think that's.
Very,
Is that what you said?
following, yeah. So yeah, following Robert's rules and Rosenberg's rules really very strictly depends upon each different entity. I've noticed that we're generally make a motion first, and we generally do that. I wouldn't want to say that we have to, and I leave it up to the chair and the board.
What's the pleasure of the board? You guys want to discuss the item before we get a motion on it, or what do you want to do? What pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
although it's not our normal procedure, there is a request from a board member to
Yes.
discuss the item first. And so I would move that we do that in this case.
in this particular case.
Yeah.
But that's not routinely the way we
Right,
do it.
right.
Okay, in this particular case. Okay, so in this particular case, you want to discuss C 1, 2, and 3?
We'll discuss the
Okay, so
entire.
go right ahead.
Okay.
Okay.
So the on-call services contracts have multiple purposes. One, and the priority, I think, from a staff's point of view, is it provides flexibility and efficiency. Flexibility in that you have a pre-approved list of firms that you can just call upon and ask for a price to do a specific set of work. The intent of that is that it is for convenience for small or smaller contracts that you would argue don't warrant the additional effort of going out to bid and soliciting proposals, et cetera, that will cause more time, delay in getting the services performed. But it is also not intended to represent large contracts, which should properly come before the board for approval. So usually the amounts that are authorized for on-call contracts on any given assignment tend to be small, with a maximum number that's also relatively small. The other purpose of this is to have the opportunity to build relationships with firms. So typically on-call contracts are for 2 to 3 year terms. And then you go out to and solicit a new round of on-call firms that you would then pre-qualify and award on-call contracts for a 2 to 3 year period. Because they tend to be small, quick turnaround contracts, it is an excellent opportunity for small firms to be able to compete and to provide service. And one of the things that we have repeatedly done, we continue to use the same firms over and over again. For some good reasons in some cases, because they bring some very specialized expertise that we need. But we don't need it on all of the work that we do. And it would be worthwhile, in my opinion, and I think for the board's goals, to have small firms, more small firms have opportunities to provide such service. So we are now at the end of the current on-call agreement, and that on-call agreement can be rebid, which or not rebid, but put out to bid, as it would be done instead of extending it 1 year for the recommendation that's in coming forward from staff. And in doing so, we'd be providing an opportunity sooner rather than later for new firms to be able to provide services at West Basin. With respect to the amount, I think previously, and the reason the amount was set at $150,000 was because some of these contracts were awarded for large amounts of money, and it was like, well, wait a second, at that amount, you should be able to, or you should have brought that back to the board for consideration. And so at that time, which was the last time we did this, we set the amount at $150,000. And as we move forward, and if we go out and solicit on-call contracts again, setting the maximum limit for any individual task order at $250,000 may be a good amount. At any amount that we choose, it should be an amount that's not large enough that people would raise their eyebrows and say, well, gee, you did that without going out and having competitive bids. There are some agencies, they tend to be primarily municipal agencies, where the on-call contracts have maximum amounts of $60,000, $100,000, and $120,000. So $150,000 where we are currently is not a insignificant amount, and it's probably within the ballpark of what most agencies provide for. I think that it would behoove us to go out to bid again and bring, or at least afford an opportunity for a new set of consultants to be able to provide services. I understand that it will take a little bit of time, but if we extend these contracts for a year, that's a year. I am sure that in less than a year's period of time, we can go out and put out a solicitation for on-call services, and that we will get firms, and hopefully during that solicitation process, we will go out and recruit firms other than the traditional ones that have viewed, that we have contracted with, and provide an opportunity for those firms to familiarize themselves with West Basin and provide service. So I will make the motion, if I may, that we go out and solicit on-call services proposal for engineering and construction management services with a maximum on-call engineering task order not to exceed $250,000.
Is there a second on the motion? Don't hear a second. So it dies with a lack of second. So what's our next step? I'm a little confused. Did we
Those
already
makes a
vote
motion.
on C1? Did we vote on C1 already? Did we vote on C1 already?
No.
We're not.
So we haven't voted on anything.
There hasn't been a second to a motion.
So no second, any
So
other?
you wanna do this? Well, here, I'll just make a motion. How about this? I will make a motion to move the staff recommendation in all three parts. That's my
Okay.
motion.
All right.
Second the motion.
Okay. Any
Okay.
discussion on that?
Yes, I do have a couple of questions. One is, I see in the staff report that in March of this year, it was brought to E&O, it's gonna end on what, June 30th. So ultimately, we're on May 28th, talking about things are gonna end June 30th. And we're trying to make these rash decisions, which I don't understand that, quite frankly, but again, this was brought to the committee. And for whatever reason, we're not talking about it till now. I also don't think what would you do in the interim if we decided to go out to bid when these contracts are up next month? How would we even do that? That doesn't seem right at all.
Would you like to respond?
Staff answer these questions, please.
Yes, I have been in consultation with the Assistant General Manager. If we were to go on call or, excuse me, go to solicit proposals, it would take us about 108 days. So we've looked at the schedule, so we would know that we wouldn't have any on-call for 108 days. That would not be the end of the world. We would be okay. If the board chose to not extend for 1 year period, which of course Director Alvarez and I have discussed, one alternative could be to begin solicitation now and extend for just a period of 6 months. And that way we have somebody on contract. But again, if you look, and this was presented just this month, we have not utilized our on-call services much at all. Veronica, do you recall it was how many times we've used them?
Yes, on table A on page 166, basically it shows the number of task orders that we have been able to use. And there is plenty of money, provided the fact that the $150,000 was very limited to do any on-call services. So we had to go through open gaps in order to obtain a company to work on some of those projects.
And Director Easton, that's the reason why we were suggesting that we look at extending is because we haven't really utilized the on-call. These firms obviously responded to our solicitation, but we haven't really put that much out there. So staff and myself, we are prepared to move forward as directed by the board of directors. If it's decided that we go straight to solicitation and allow the contracts to expire, we will be fine. If you want to extend it for a year period, we think that we can wrap up our outreach that we continue to do. And at committee, I stress this, our staff has gone above and beyond reaching out to every single firm available. We meet with anybody and everybody. So I'm very pleased with the outreach that we've done. And then the alternative, if the idea is to start solicitation right now, we could extend for 6 months and get through that.
Well, we have a motion on the table to go with what you all are recommending. But I'm still a little confused as to why the conversation started in March, but I guess nothing happened from March till end of May.
I could just say that at the end of engineering operations, this item was brought as an information item. We typically are able to get through the action calendar, and then the information calendar usually gets expedited. So I don't know that there was a thorough discussion of this. This has been in the E&O information items the past 2 months, and we just have not had a good opportunity to discuss.
So seems to me, in all honesty, what should have happened is this should have been, if we were going to go out to bid or we were going to look at that, it should have been hopefully addressed in March or in February, because it's not fair at all to these vendors, potential new vendors, even this board of directors, that everything waits till 11th hour. So I don't know where to place any blame, quite frankly. I'm going to move forward with what you all are recommending. I do think it will give you some time to figure out the best course of action when these expire. But like anything, we know when the deadline is approaching for these contracts ending. So it should be incumbent on somehow it gets moved to the full board for decisions, because we've had some experiences like this in the past. It's been a while, if I recall, but we don't want to get in these roles, these situations. So I'd really like staff to make sure you look back at that internally and deal with the board. It's, I guess, my big picture. I don't think it's fair at all where we're at right now with this, but I'm willing to move forward with the recommendation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other comments?
Chair,
Tommy?
again, a question for the staff. To Director Alvarez's point, when it comes to the small, medium, large, consultants that are put out for bid, does the smaller consultants, can they partner with a larger consultant? Just saying that the larger consultant doesn't cover those small services, will they bring in a smaller consultant to help with their bid and then put it in that way? Is that your experience?
Yes, they can have partners as part of their group in which they bring those small business enterprises and most people.
Okay, all right. So even if maybe this is a EJ question, even if you do put out the bid, you go out for a bid proposal, and you get small, medium, large consultants, they can actually partner with larger firms, like these larger firms that's on this recommendation, right? That's it.
Well, I think you've heard a lot. I mean, a couple of points I want to make, just going to reiterate what I think I heard. I think the interest is really giving opportunities to small businesses, small vendors. And so whatever we can do when we do go out to encourage participation, that is an interest that this board really is interested in. As well as, Scott brought up a good point in terms of the timeline and making sure we're within that timeline to do the recruitment. And I suggest we start now, not wait for a full year. If the board decides to give you a full year, but that doesn't mean you have to take a full year. I think you should start now. And I think that may have been part of what Director Alvarez was saying too. So I think everything you've heard to take into consideration whenever the board makes a decision on this item. Any other comment, directors? Alvarez and Deer?
I do have
Alvarez.
one more comment. On-call services have been used, 12, 13 times in 3 years?
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
We use the on-call services contract 13 times in almost 3 years.
We have used extensively past contracts prior to these ones. They didn't have a limit on the cap, so we use them for several projects.
But in the 3 years, you used them, 13 times.
I'm not sure that is 13 times. In some instances,
There have been 13 contracts.
not on not on these last ones. The 2022, we used the engineering services 8 times and the CM services 5 times. And due to the fact that in order for us to fit the projects that we needed to work on, we had to go through open govs, basically to open the solicitation to everybody. And one example is, like the tax before that we only got maybe 2 providers to present proposals.
Director, that number sounds correct, and I would suggest though that it's It's simply because of the threshold that we've been employing now of $150,000, and we could have used it more over the last 3 years if we had a higher limit.
I agree. So how many engineering contracts in that 3-year period outside of these 13? And you might not have the answer today. Have we issued? That would be the.
We can get that.
To that. If we do approve contract, I don't think we approve one a month. Not every month we're approving engineering services contracts. Probably approve a couple, 2 or 3 a year. So the number of contracts that we've approved otherwise is probably within the ballpark to twice as many as these on-call contracts. And those are typically have been for much larger work, which does need to go through a solicitation process. It should be brought back to this board. Okay, so it's not like this tool or the loss of this tool for 2 months, if that were to even be the case, is going to significantly impact anyone. The comment has been made that some of the existing on-call firms would be prejudiced because they haven't been able to reach their maximum amount. When people sign up to provide on-call services, there's no guarantee they're going to get any more. And some people on the on-call list get work and some don't. And that's everyone that's in the industry that provides these services understands that. And when they submit this proposal and get on the list, it's only so that they can be there for a matter of convenience, and there is no guarantee they're going to get work. Okay, so let's put that aside because we don't know anyone, we have no obligations to anyone to award any contract just because we're on an on-call list. Strictly for the convenience of the agency, not the convenience of the consultant. So we're at a point where this on-call list would expire at the end of June. And if we were to go out and solicit a new list, we'd have one available in 4 months at 108 days, so let's say 120 days. So we'd have somebody on board by September, or a new list, not somebody, but a new list of firms by September. Not going to be that much of an inconvenience. And so I do think that it would behoove us to go out and put this out and rotate it and just keep rotating it. And if we don't, have an on-call services list for 3 years, then it's 3 years, and every 3 years it goes in and out. And if it's for 2 years, some agencies only have on-call lists that they renew every year. Some have them for 3 years. It's very variable. We can go out there, depending on who we select to canvas. We can come up with, here's a list of firms of agencies that have worked 3 years. Here's a list that have worked 2 years, etc. It's very varied throughout the industry. So, in my opinion, I don't see the need to do this at this point. I think it doesn't serve us any good purpose not to provide opportunities for firms to submit proposals again. And it may end up that we end up with the same group of firms. If that's the case, that's the case. And I also am not comfortable with allowing a large amount of large authorization amount for on-call. I think that it should be done for things that need to be done quickly. You need to reach out. There tend to be small jobs. For larger jobs, you should go through a more formal process. That's my comment.
Okay, all right, thank you. No other comments, please, Grove.
Director Tommy Favalle,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
No.
Director Scott Houston, Director Don Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
Yes. Okay, where are we? Item, the D. Introduce that item.
Yes, Madam President, this item again was presented to the Engineering Operations Committee on May 22nd. This is in relation to the implementation of the Donald L. Deere Elevator Modernization Project, which is CIP number 10044-02. The recommendation is that the board reaffirm their direction to the general manager to perform the full modernization of both elevators at the DLG building as directed by the board on November 25th, 2024, and in consideration of the updated budgetary and project information presented herein. Now, we do have Orlando Rodriguez, our engineering supervisor here to touch on this subject. This item was moved to the board of directors without a recommendation. However, I think that there's a couple of things that should be noted. First and foremost, it was a previous decision by the board of directors to move forward with the full modernization, which would include work on the hydraulic jacks of both elevators. As you recall, one elevator is inoperable at this time. The second one was having some issues. Since that decision to move forward with the full modernization, we've had increased problems with the only elevator that works. And I'm going to use, Orlando, you correct me if I'm wrong. There's been increased leveling of the operating elevator, both at the ground level and now at the different levels, the second floor and the third level. That was a sign that we saw that happened before the first elevator went out of order. So with that in mind, I've authorized the hydraulic work as a critical repair, and we've begun the process of soliciting work on the hydraulic jacks, which is one portion of the full modernization. The question is once that work gets done on the hydraulic jacks, both elevators should be fully operable and meet all relevant requirements. The question for the board of directors would be, would you still want to move forward with the full modernization? And I do think it's worthwhile to have Orlando touch on what that full modernization would look like and that cost. So with that, at the president's discretion, I would ask Orlando to present that.
Go ahead.
All right. Thank you, EJ. Good afternoon, President Gray and our members of the board. As EJ mentioned, the item DLD modernization project was previously brought to the board on November of 2024. And at the time, if you turn to page 170 of the agenda packet, you'll see table A. And that was the amount that was presented for the full modernization, which includes the replacement of the hydraulic jacks. So this recommendation came from West Basin's elevator consultant, ADIS. They performed a condition assessment of the elevators and gave the recommendation of full modernization. What was unknown to West Basin at the time was part of ADIS's scope was to produce technical specs as well for the modernization. But what we come to understand is some of the items or elements that are required are out of their expertise. That includes mechanical, electrical, fire life safety components. So with that being said, we decided to go to our on-call design services, and we put out an RFP on March 12th to get a consultant that could perform that work, basically drawing specifications and a bid package to bring this all together for a full modernization. On April 3rd, we received one proposal from Hazen and Sawyer in the amount of $212,000, but we were able to negotiate that down to approximately $150,000, and that would pretty much produce all the necessary documents along with the bid package to put out a solicitation for construction services for the full modernization. What I want to also touch on here is that what the modernization means. These elevators were installed originally in 1981, and they have about a 20 to 25 year useful life. A lot of the components, these are Dover elevators that were, Dover was bought out by TKE. So a lot of the components that, besides the hydraulic jacks, you'll see in our machine room and so forth, they're just out of date. You can't really find them. You can find them on third parties, but they're hard to locate, to repair and maintain. So we've been also struggling there. So the modernization will bring all of this basically up to code and just guarantee reliability of the elevators and extend their useful life moving forward. So that $150,000 was unanticipated when we originally presented this preliminary cost estimate to the board on November of last year. So you could see the updated preliminary cost estimate on the next page, table B, Desiree, if you don't mind. So here, what you'll see is at the very top, you have what EJ referred to right now as what we're proceeding with is the replacement of the hydraulic jacks. The full modernization of elevators 1 and 2 at 300,000. The additional design services that we recently procured, or at least received a proposal for $150,000, and then the work done by others is 65,000, which includes all those mechanical, fire, life safety, HVAC, and so forth. So this recommendation, essentially, we have increased the cost. So we're looking at now a grand total of $675,000. So an increase essentially of 150, which we presented previously. So as EJ mentioned, the hydraulic jacks would be solving the level of the issues and essentially have the elevators up and running, but the modernization brings other components that we actually would like to still proceed with and just increase reliability, redundancy, and so forth. And you'll see kind of a breakdown there at the 300,000. It'll be a new soft starter, submersible power unit, shutoff valves, etc., which will be included in the modernization. So with that, I don't know, I'd be happy to read the recommendation or is there discussion or questions?
What's the cost? So you're proposing to fix 1 elevator or 2 elevators? What do you propose?
Both.
And what's the cost for both?
So the hydraulic jacks, we have there at $160,000. So we'll be proceeding with that. Right now is a critical repair.
So that's what you're doing now.
Yes. And then the other modernization components, we would do the design of that. And essentially when design is done, then we would be procuring or soliciting for construction services to complete the modernization of the elevator. So we'll be doing the hydraulic jacks immediately to avoid having both elevators down. And then kind of on a parallel path, we will be continuing with the modernization design and then following construction.
Again, what's the total to fix both elevators? 675
Yes, for the full
for
modernization.
both elevators?
Yes,
Is that what
correct.
you're saying?
Correct.
And so that's needed for them to run, to operate?
Well,
What is needed for them
right
to
now, it's
operate?
the hydraulic jacks.
So right now it's the jacks, but what's needed for them to operate?
The hydraulic jacks, needs to be worked out very quickly. And if you see at the very bottom of that, my eyesight's not as strong as most. The total of A plus B is 675,000. So that would after the hydraulic jack work gets completed, that would have a remainder of $515,000 if you want to move forward with the full modernization.
So what's the reason for the full modern? I'm just trying to get to what makes the elevators operate. That's all I'm trying to get to.
So the hydraulic jacks are the current issue. And I think what Orlando's saying is that every time we have a problem, the parts of the existing elevator are so old that it is expensive.
So you're trying to replace an old elevator with a new one? Is
Well,
that what you're
that's
saying?
the full modernization.
But for it to work right now, it's just the hydraulic jacks.
That's correct.
But in the future, anything can break down and the parts are very old, so it's hard to get to.
Exactly.
Any questions before, any comments or questions of Orlando?
I have just a couple of really quick, I mean, obviously, we authorized you all to move forward with this last year, right? And then, of course, you're encountering all these, troubles or situations with the current vendor and parts and all these things. At the end of the day, I mean, there's 2 elevators in the building. We only got 1 working. It's only been 1 working for quite some time, and I don't even know how well it works, which is scary. And then on top of it, this is a public building. We have an obligation, to the county and the state that things work properly for the employees and visitors. So obviously we're really in a risk area right now if this other elevator goes down because we have no other way to get people up and down but the stairs, right?
Correct.
So look, at the end of the day, we've been kicking this can down the road for a long time with this building. I know we need to talk about what we're going to do with this building. And this is a part of our problem. I would like us to do whatever we can to get these two elevators back up and running. I hate spending all this extra money on stuff. We don't know what the future of the building is, but this is an embarrassment that we have a building with two elevators. One doesn't work and the other is really questionable, even when you ride in it. So, I will go ahead. Well, in this motion, it's really, what is this motion? It's actually more of the board reaffirm.
To reaffirm, as Orlando mentioned, there's an addition, when we presented this, the board said move forward with the full modernization. We later found out that there's an additional $150,000 required. So to me, that was really not what the board had considered as far as the dollar amount. It would have been a small nominal amount at a later date, but $150,000 representing a significant portion of that cost. To me, I want to bring that back to the board. And ultimately, when we authorize the hydraulic jack work, now you're removing that scope. And so this is above and beyond what it would take to get the elevators operable.
All right, let me ask one or two things more, and then I'll want to go back to the chair. Because how long will it take if we authorize it? How long will it take to get these things fixed?
So I'll allow it.
Yeah, so if we get authorization, the design will pretty much start or be completed, say maybe later this year. It's hard to say, in October, November, the design. October, November, sorry. And then, so this would probably take us to full-on construction modernization to be early next year, I would say, maybe like.
Early next year?
Yeah, the full modernization. The hydraulic jacks are starting now. So we'll proceed with that doing now. If the actual full
If you do the hydraulic jack,
Wait, Director, go on, is that okay? Because I know Scott.
Well, I'd
was
like to
really
hear what
middle
you
of
were saying
course.
first. Yeah.
So the hydraulic jacks
Oh,
we'll
you
proceed with
talked.
now, and we'll do that work immediately. There is a weeks of, 12 weeks of fabrication for the jacks themselves. And then at that point, then the vendor, Lift Tech in this case, will then proceed with doing the replacement of the jacks themselves. So that work will start immediately. And then at the same time, what we'll do is we'll initiate the design of the full modernization, the doing all the mechanical and everything else, electrical, fire, life safety, and preparing that bid package to then be put out. So that would be completed later this year. And we'll be able to go out for solicitation for that scope minus the jacks.
So even if we were to authorize all this, it's going to take quite a while to get the elevators, the two elevators.
Yes, due to the lead item, the time to get the jacks themselves, yes. So we'll work on that first, and then kind of like on parallel paths here, we'll be doing both.
Right. And this $675,000, it does say here excludes mobilization, demobilization, and contingency. What's that mean?
That's just essentially the contractor coming on site and leaving. Since we'll be that item part here is just not included here. That's usually like a percentage of the total amount, and the contingency would just be that as well for any unknowns and so forth. So in this case, it could be a 10% contingency or whatnot. That would be on top of the 675.
No, I really can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Speak up.
Oh, yeah. So the
All of it.
mobilization, demobilization is just the contractor's fees are usually a percentage for them to come on site and leave site when they come to perform the work. And the contingency is pretty typical with these kind of projects or construction projects in general. They could be anywhere from 5%, 10%, depending on what we select. So that 675 does not include that.
Okay, and then this, I believe, is my last part on this, is so because it's here on the action agenda, action item, it was at the committee. And the committee didn't have a recommendation or couldn't come to consensus, and so it came here.
On this one, and again, I don't want to put words in the chairman's mouth. There was a great discussion. One thing worth noting is that the maker of the motion, when this was originally decided at the board level, Director Don Deere had commented in the value of having the full modernization. And so one of the reasons I think was bringing it back for a discussion by the full board. So I don't want to characterize it as that there was a lack of consensus. It was they wanted the board of directors to weigh in.
Good. So I look forward to hearing what the others think. I mean, I don't know what all we can really do, quite frankly. It seems like we're a bit over the barrel, but you know.
Okay, we have some other
Go ahead.
questions.
Go ahead. Thank you.
All right, Director Alvarez.
So we've ordered on an emergency basis a repair of the hydraulic jack, which is a good thing. Once the hydraulic jacks are repaired, it can take 12 weeks to fabricate them and then install them. That will take probably another week or two. So in a couple of 3 months, the elevators will be fully functional
That's my understanding, yes.
and there won't be any of that jumping around and both will be working.
Correct.
So at that point, we will have procured fully functional elevators that meet life and safety requirements.
Yes.
So then we can go ahead and move forward with a full modernization, which is replacement, and is that refurbishing the interior of the elevators, et cetera?
I mean, that's one component, yes. There's a lot of other parts that are involved with this that are in our machine room that are not.
But, so are they required or not required to provide life safety?
I think, and I'm not an expert in elevators, but I don't think that they're required. I think the concern is that the equipment is so old that when problems arise, they're extremely difficult to handle. But required, I think that you just need to have fully functional and safe.
And once you install the hydraulic jacks, you have that.
Is that correct, Orlando?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Once you replace the hydraulic jack, the elevators will be functioning and they will be functioning safe.
Yes. Yeah.
So then the question is, we spent $160,000. We want to spend the additional money and we won't see those improvements for probably another 12 months.
Give or take it.
And then I do have another question separately. You mentioned earlier on the design that it's Hazen and Williams. Who did we solicit proposals from for elevator design?
Well, we reached out to all of the on-call design services, although this is also like a specialty. Some of them just don't have the capability. But the ones that did, there's 3 in particular, Hazen, HDR, and Black and Beach. We only really received 1 proposal.
They all of those firms should probably do it, but and so you just went to the on-call firms? Because typically this would be more of an architectural mechanical firm. And when we do select on-calls, I don't think we have in the past, and I haven't seen it, invited more architectural and specialty firms that would provide these kinds of services. We just don't have. That's not what our on-call list includes. I am surprised at how much the fee is for the design for this. And there are firms and that's what they do.
Chair?
Okay. Yes.
I got a couple of questions for the staff. On the, now I kind of understand the elevators, situation because we went through the same thing at our facility, at the IBW facility in Pasadena when it comes to elevator. So when it comes to fire code, there is requirements under the fire code to make sure that these elevators are under, they all meet the requirements when it comes to fire life safety and electrical and mechanical. So when it comes to, leaving out those other items and stuff when it's on the proposal, I think it's very needed when it comes to adding those mechanical, electrical items in there because it comes down to fire code. And then also, I'm in full support of the full modernization because I think it's needed. And we can't, there is no around doing a roundabout on working on elevators because, I mean, you just have to have that, worked on. So, I agree with the staff's recommendation on moving forward, Chair.
Is he making a motion? I'll second it if he is.
That was a motion.
Yes, that was a motion.
Director here. My comments is that, I know the hydraulic jacks are necessary being done right now. And what I gathered from the conversation, we need to modernize, is because the elevator is at least 40 years old, correct? And trying to get parts, if it breaks down again, so we're at rest. And so we're at rest meeting, whether it's health department, fire department, whatever codes, it may take forever. So I think it's worth moving forward with the modernization. No, Frank Alvarez brought up the point about 12 months, which is true. But I think it's better to look at doing the modernization because of how old the elevators are. And the risk that anything can break down now and stop the elevator. And so, Dr. mentioned that it was already in the approval modernization part, but it did not include the replacement of the jack. Is that right?
No, it didn't include the 150,000.
150,000. So that's why you brought it back to the board, right? Only for that reason. So now we're discussing it again. So, but anyway, those are my comments. That's what I gathered from the conversation. Thank you. All right, any further
I do have
discussion?
one more question.
Okay.
When we replace the hydraulic jack, it does meet the fire code or does not?
It probably does. It's working, right?
Ask Uzi, Daniel, she may have a little bit more information.
Sure. Good afternoon. The California Department of Industrial Relations is who approves or permits the elevators. And then, as a lot of you have mentioned, there's just a lot that's tagged to that. And so what that is you actually hire companies that are approved by them to inspect your elevators annually. And not unlike our fire extinguishers and other things, they have a few criteria. They go over some of the electrical, does the phone work, a lot of these different things. They're aware of the fire codes and whatnot. And then they'll say, yes, you get your certification for another year. They might otherwise yellow tag you. And if things go really wrong, they red tag you. Red tag, I believe it also, and I could check on this, it's posted on their website. Until you repair it, you can get fines. Another note is EDA requirements. We do have to have an elevator. So I think it's this to distinguish, you are required to have it be certified. So the question is really when we get down to this, with everything, what do we need to keep that elevator not only safe, but certified so it's not yellow tagged?
So the question had to do with the jacks. Director Alvarez posed the question again to her.
Well, the question was, does it meet the fire code? And then I'll
That's the
have a
question.
follow-up question. We get the elevator certified every year.
Yeah.
Correct.
So that's
Have
just
we
the
ever-
question.
Have we
Correct.
failed the certification?
We have been given a warning before or a suggestion. I'll check, but since I've been here, we have not received a necessary red tag. The current shutdown elevator is like on the yellow tag, so to say, and that is because of the leveling out issues.
Have we received formal yellow tag or is that kind of, you said kind of yellow tag? I understand that they bounce around and I understand that there needs the jacks to be replaced. Okay, I get it. But have we failed the certification at any given time?
I'll double check the recommendation from the person that inspected it. So it's one of those things you shut it down before they yellow tag you. So we put it out of service. And I will double check if they actually tagged it or made that recommendation based on the safety. Sometimes they do that so you don't have to receive that public notice. But we can double check that for you, absolutely.
Being a director, who got caught in the elevator, the late director Lou was there for an hour and a half or so. When the
The
elevator
hydraulic jacks need to
broke
be
down, he
replaced.
was in it with the
Yeah.
staff people too.
The
With
hydraulic jacks
Thank
need to
you,
be
darling. Thank you.
happened.
Okay,
Not a
All
fun
right.
thing. You don't want to do that.
So can you call the roll, please?
Director Favai,
Before you call the roll, EJ, can you mention what we're voting?
We're voting on the recommendation of staff, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
Staff
So it's
recommendation.
just the staff recommendation.
We're voting on staff's recommendation.
Okay,
Director Tommy Favai,
yes.
Director Desi Alvarez, Director Scott Houston, Director Don Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
Yes. Motion carried. Okay, let's go to the next item. That's E, right? E, minutes.
Yes, Madam President.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say that this item was heard just yesterday in the Administrative and Finance Committee. And it was moved to the committee with moved to the board with a recommendation of approval.
Is there a motion to approve those minutes?
Move it.
Any discussion, issues, or modifications? Hearing none, can you please call the roll?
Director Tommy Favai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez, Director Scott Houston,
Yes.
Director Don Deere,
Yes.
and President Gloria Gray.
Item F, please introduce that one.
Yes, Madam President, this item to approve sponsorship of fiscal year 2024-2025 community outreach events. This item was heard yesterday in the Finance and Administrative Committee, was recommended to move to the full board with a recommendation of support.
Move the item.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, can you please call the roll?
Director Tommy Favai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez, Director Scott Houston, Director Don Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
Yes. Item G, please read the recommendation.
Yes, Madam President, this item is related to the standby charge resolution of intent. The recommendation is that the board approve, adopt, and authorize the president to sign resolution number 05251223, a resolution of the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District initiating proceedings for the establishment of the water availability or standby charge for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2025. This item was also heard just yesterday at the Finance and Administrative Committee and was recommended to move to the full board with a recommendation of support.
Move it.
Right? Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Only that this
Director.
is, this item is, for the standby charge, which is gonna go away in 6 more years after this.
23rd was correct.
And it's a significant amount of our budget, but we have to always keep in mind that we will be doing this for another 6 years and then it disappears. And it's one of those charges that the agency placed, imposed. I think at the time, yeah, been some discussion, but eventually the reason that we will be challenged and we did lose the challenge. Okay.
Okay, please call the roll.
Director Tommy Favai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Scott Houston, Director Don Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
Item 10, information calendar.
We have no information calendar items.
Item 11, receive and file. If there's no request from the board for any of those items, can I have a motion to receive and file?
Okay.
Question? No discussion, rather, please call the roll.
Director Tommy Favai,
Yes.
Director Desi Alvarez, Director Scott Houston, Director Don Deere,
Yes.
President Gloria Gray.
The Club General Manager's Activity Report.
Yes, Madam President. The general manager's report for the month of May was emailed out to the board of directors just before this board meeting, and you should have hard copies in front of you. A couple of things to note. I did want to say thank you to Director Scott Houston and our very own Gus Meza for assisting us with the presentation today from the Blue Butterfly Group. as well as the South Bay Cities Council of Governments. I know that Gus Mays has been actively participating in the coordination of both of those. I want to say thank you for that. Just coming up in June 5th, customer and stakeholder budget workshop. And then following that, June 6th, we do have a special board meeting for our fourth budget workshop. We do anticipate hopefully bringing a budget to the regularly scheduled June board meeting. So for those of you who are listening online, we hope you'll participate not only in our stakeholder meeting, but for the rest of this process as well. Other than that, it's been an extremely busy month. I want to say thank you very much to all the directors that were able to attend our visit to not only Sacramento, but most recently Washington, D.C. Also, I did have the opportunity to attend the Association of California Water Agencies spring conference. Great opportunity to not only refresh kind of where we are in the water industry, but kind of see what other agencies are doing. I thought it was a good conference. Went by quickly, but I did have not just a good time, but I felt like I learned quite a bit there. So with that, Madam President, I'll just leave the rest of that in writing.
Any questions of the general manager? Comment? My comment has to do with the lobbying trip. Thank you to Matt Bay. Is he here? Matt? In the back. It was a great trip into our lobbying firm and EJ and the directors at Gwent. I forgot who they are. Let's see, director. Alvarez, the director in Houston, right? We all went. I think it was a very productive trip. We got to see a lot of the folks on the Hill. So thank you. We had a very productive trip. All right, so the next item would be general counsel report.
Yeah, Madam President, I don't have any formal report other than closed session.
Okay, AB 1234 reporting compliance. Any report? Director Houston?
I'll just do mine real quick. Yeah, I've noted here, so yeah, Washington, DC. I attended with some of the colleagues from April 28 to May 1. On May 7th, there was a tour by Leadership Torrent 2025 to the Torrance Chamber of Commerce, and I was there to help make a presentation to them and welcome them along with Daryl Ramos Young. A really good group, a lot of great questions before they got to go tour our facility. So thank you to our staff for hosting them. On the 10th of May, the Culver City Car Show was held. The Exchange Club of Culver City promotes. They actually do that event. They're the ones that put that whole thing together. We were one of the sponsors, so I was able to speak briefly at their event, as well as we had a booth. And they had a really good turnout, beautiful day, and a lot of gorgeous cars out there. So that was on the 10th of May. And by the way, I want to say thank you to the staff that was there. And it was really hot that day, and they had a very bright idea that in our tent they put our step and repeat piece on the back side, and the sun was coming in like that. So that was really, really smart, because otherwise the sun was just beating in. It was one of the first warm days of the season. And let's see, last but not least, I think, if my notes are right, I was up at the Aqua Conference with a couple of colleagues and of course general manager. So that was May 13 through 16. A really good conference. And one thing of note, and ironically, Director Favaye and I were in the same room, but totally on the opposite side. I don't think we realized we were both there until we saw each other and waved. But it was a really good presentation on apprenticeships and partnerships, workforce development with schools. A nonprofit group based in Northern California has done a lot of great work. I brought a lot of notes back and some information. They're aware of us. They may have even spoken to us at some point, but you know what? They're doing what we have already started to do here locally. I think we need to see what they're doing and what partnership we could do with them down here, because they were speaking our language 110% about how we get young people interested in these careers, especially the ones that want to maybe be a plant operator or something else. And they've even put together these interesting internships with students. I believe they spend like 6 months with one agency organization, and they'll shift to another one and to another one. So it's really coordinated, and it was very interesting. And by the way, it was a pretty well a packed room from folks around the state, and everybody was interested in all ears. I mean, as soon as that thing was over, I think everyone just went right up to that table to get on their mailing list and to talk with them. So anyway, that's my AB 1, 2, 3, 4 report, and thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Can I ask you what the name of the group do you remember?
You know, I do not remember. He might, but
Yeah.
I have my notes at home.
Yeah, we have notes. I can make sure that we share with EJ.
The organization.
Yeah.
Yep.
I did want to mention, I was reading your report and I see that Santa Monica College and LA Trade Tech College did a tour of the NC Water Recycling Center. Is that the first time I've ever seen? No, it's not.
They come frequently. They've come through like the young professionals, advanced water treatment. And sometimes they have specialty classes. Professors will often reach out. It's great.
You ever get any interest from that college in terms of some positions, or maybe I should ask the HR person?
And Daryl, you may have something to add.
Yeah, we continue to reach out to them, and Elisa, our HR manager, is continuing to make lots of good inroads with all the colleges within our service area. For the Santa Monica Community College, they've been doing their asking for a tour for their chemistry class 2 times a year, basically each semester. The same thing with LA Trade Tech. LA Trade Tech has been coming out for the past 4 years with their
What about
process
Southwest
technology class.
Sorry, what about Southwest College?
Southwest College, no, we continue to reach out to them, but haven't had any success.
Well, thank you. That's good to hear that you do the outreach with them. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
If I might, I was gonna do this under item 18, but I think it'd be too late then. There's an issue coming up with LAFCO. We have one of our commissioners, alternates actually, has had 17 straight missed meetings where he's attended via telephone rather than in person. And we once a month. I mean, it's been over a year and a half or so of non-attendance, but he gets credit for attendance, and he does participate to a limited degree. And I know that we take advantage. We all take advantage of the telephone. I was in the hospital for 5 weeks, and I managed to go to every committee meeting or attend every committee meeting. But I do find that attendance in person is better, if at all possible, because of the increased communication among the directors. And it's become an issue at LAFCO now where we're discussing this person's attendance because we're concerned about the fact that he never attends anymore. I don't know how you folks feel about it. I know that our chair has been very busy with other responsibilities and not gone to every committee meeting, but you've attended most of the meetings and done a good job of doing that. And I don't find any problem with that at all, or when I attended the 5 weeks I was in the hospital. But the intent to not come at all just because it's inconvenient for him, I think, is not, in regard to the LAFCO, is a problem. And I don't know exactly what we're going to do to change our rule, because the law doesn't allow him to do that right now. He's doing it.
It sounds like there's a lot of issues, though, right?
It's going to be a LAFCO issue now.
So your board has to make that.
Yeah, I wanted to let you know that that's coming up.
And wasn't there a bill that came out that extended teleconference?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For special districts.
Okay, anything else? There was something I was gonna mention and I made me forget about it.
I do have one, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
Actually, just apologies to go back because to the general manager's report. I did just see it and I didn't get to make note. The sunset article, I did see that came out. Ironically, it was, in some sort of my Google alerts or what have you, and I saw that. I knew staff had been working on that. I was really impressed. Oh, good. So just, I don't think I got to attend the PI meeting, but I was very impressed with that Sunset magazine guess it's more of an advertorial, I'm not sure, but it was really well done. So I just wanted to compliment you guys on that.
Thank you for that. And I know Daryl's here, but the public information education team not only cultivated that concept and the idea, but I thought it was extremely well timed as far as our push for grass replacement. So we're excited for that.
I want to just kind of re-mention, I think I read Director Hughes, myself, and Director Alvarez and staff attended 15 meetings in Washington DC. So thanks again. You guys did a great job. 15 meetings. That's quite a few.
Did you meet the president?
I don't think so. I did.
You didn't let us.
Do you want to?
You straighten them out. Good. I guess it probably would work.
Guys, so, oh, I know what I want to do. Can I direct, well, many of you may know that, Senator Nate Holden died recently.
Yes.
Remember, and so maybe we can adjourn the meeting in his honor.
That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, I just
Remembering.
thought that was what I was trying to think about. I know his funeral is coming up, I think June 9th or something like that, yeah.
And
Scott?
I have two other adjournments. I don't know if I can tell them now or
Say it now,
later.
say it now. So we won't
Okay,
forget.
real quick, yeah. And thank you, by the way, for bringing up that he passed away. I saw that. And the other, there's two actually that were in Division 4 the last handful of weeks. It's very sad. So one is Anthony, he goes by Tony London from Culver City. And his wife is Charlene, and we've worked with Charlene a lot when it comes to some sponsorships of some organizations she's part of. They're both very active in the community. I think they both go to Temple Akiba up in Culver City, but Tony passed away just recently. I don't know how expected or not expected, but the last time I had seen him quite well, so that was very sad. And then we did have a surprise death in El Segundo. Ray Gen, Gen. He is actually a former El Camino trustee in the board of trustees at El Camino. He's a longtime El Segundo high school teacher. I've known him since I started out doing anything in El Segundo political work. He actually hosted events for me at his house. His wife they're both just amazing public servants. She actually works for our library system in El Segundo. But Ray Gen, he passed away very unexpectedly and, way too young. I want to say in his 60s. Don't quote me right now, but, I think we were all shocked when we saw that news. So if we could adjourn in their honor as well. Thank you, Madam President.
All right, and that's adjourned, and that's going to closed session.
Move to go into closed session for the two items that are stated on the agenda.
Item,
Correct.
okay. Briefly,
Four items, two items listed under two headings.
okay, let's go into closed session. open session, and so is there a report from the general counsel?
I would just report that no action taken during closed session as reportable per se.
All right, director's comments. Director Deere, any comment?
No, thank you.
Director Alvarez? Right, Director Houston,
No comments.
Director, bye-bye.
No comments.
And, Director Gray, no comments, except thank you guys for the meeting today, and with that, any future agenda items?
No, just a reminder that we're adjourning in the memory of. Okay.
Your laptop is opposed.
Remembrance.
Oh, your computer.
Oh, adjourn in memory of Senator Nate Holden, Anthony Tony London of Culver City, and Ray Jim of El Segundo. We're adjourning in all their memory. So with that, we are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you, Desiree.
Thank you, everyone.